Good evening. This regular meeting of the Socorro ISD Board of Trustees will come to order. The date is Wednesday, March 26, 2025, and the time is 6:03, and we have a confirmed quorum. Thank you for joining us for this meeting, both in person and online via our YouTube stream. The full recording of the meeting will be available on YouTube and archived through the board website, where viewers have the option of watching the meeting with closed captions translated in multiple languages.
Gracias por acompañarnos en esta reunión tanto en persona como en línea a través de nuestra transmisión de YouTube. La grabación completa de la reunión está disponible en YouTube y se archivará a través del sitio web de la Junta, donde los espectadores tienen la opción de ver la reunión con subtítulos traducidos a varios idiomas.
Our item number 2, the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening. One of our amazing, outstanding students from Sergeant Manuel R. Puentes Middle School will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. 8th grader Daniel Carmona Pinheiro is set on winning a gold medal at tomorrow's SISD Spring Games in memory of James P. Butler. Daniel began competing in the Spring Games when he was in the 1st grade, and he is excited to return to the track this year. He will participate in the 200-meter dash and serve as the anchor for his school relay team. Participating in sports has boosted Daniel's confidence, improved his social skills, and strengthened his determination. It has also made him a standout in the classroom where he excels in all subjects, particularly reading. In addition to preparing for the Spring Games, Daniel is also gearing up to compete at the 2025 AAU Taekwondo National Championships in July in Salt Lake City. He qualified for the championships after winning a gold medal at the Arizona State Championships in February. Daniel, we will be cheering for you and all of the amazing athletes at the SAC tomorrow, along with your wonderful parents and teachers. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Daniel. Can we have a round of applause? At this time, we're going to take a quick picture with Daniel. Item number 3, Interim Superintendent's comments. Mr. Vasquez.
Good evening, Vice President Naja, members of the board, and members of the community. Thank you all for being here this evening. And I want to start off by wishing Trustee Alice Gardea a happy birthday. She celebrated a couple of days ago. Happy birthday yourselves. I also want to welcome everybody back from an intersession. Over the past couple of weeks, we've had some excellent trainings, tutoring, and activities over the break. I hope that everybody found some time to recharge the batteries and make it back for the fourth 9 weeks. I want to start off by introducing a new leader to the district. The Director of Business Services in the Finance Department. I want to welcome Adriana Aguirre. district hosted the College Career and Job Expo for sophomores, juniors, and seniors at Montwood High School on Monday. We had more than 900 students and about 100 business partners. Great job to our CTE department, business and industry partners, and program coordinators, and especially our students for participating and showing the great opportunities available to our students now and in the future. I also want to congratulate our first ever SISD Support Employees of the Year finalists. These 4 exceptional employees have been honored for their significant contributions to our district successes. They are Armando Alvarez, crosswalk monitor at Loma Verde; Francisco Felix Martinez, head custodian at Mission Early College High School; Danae Munoz, campus secretary at Hernando Middle School; and Jesus Salas, the head custodian in the athletics department out at the SAC. We celebrated them with a surprise visit earlier this month. And so from these 4 finalists, the top winner will be selected, and we'll name that individual at a reception this May. So congratulations to those SISD Support Employees of the Year. If you haven't seen that video on Twitter or X now, they are just so well spoken. They did a great job with that interview, so check that out if you haven't already. I do want to thank everybody who participated and attended the SISD community listening meetings, and for those who participated in the survey. Just a friendly reminder that the survey will be online on the district website through this Friday, March the 28th. If you have not already done so, we invite you to provide your input. Some upcoming events, we have the SISD 37th Annual Spring Games, the aforementioned Spring Games in memory of James P. Butler. That'll take place tomorrow at the SAC. We look forward to this wonderful event every year, and I can't wait to share this moment and watch our athletes tomorrow. We also have our annual Math Bee that's going to be held on Saturday, March the 29th at Eastlake High School. Good luck to all of those participants. Pre-K registration opens on April the 1st. We opened registration to all the other grades on March the 3rd, and it's going extremely well. I'm happy to report that as of this meeting tonight, we have 452 out-of-district students registering to be a part of the Socorro Independent School District, so we look forward to welcoming them for the coming school year. And this concludes my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. Item number 4 is open forum. Each person who signed up was provided a copy of the open forum basic rules and advised when they signed up that policy BED applies to the process. Please respect the process during your presentation. We will proceed to open forum and public comment. Our first speaker tonight is Alfredo Aguero.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alfredo Agüero, and I'm a community organizer in the area of special education and founder of parent support group Padres Empoderando Padres en Educación Especial. First of all, I want to say that I am still having problems to find the application on the SISD website to make the request for interpreter. We are going to have an afforded special education workshop for parents with children in special education on April 10th, and option high school 10 to 11:45 a.m. On workshop, parents are learning how to advocate for their own children. Who is better to advocate for their children than their own parents? I would like to comment that yesterday, March 25th, Superintendent Mr. James Vasquez allowed us to meet with him to discuss issues to concern parents with children in special education, and one of them is the discipline policies that have been implemented on the SISD district. We want to say thanks to Dr. Carmen Olivas Graham, Director of Administrative Services, for accepting our invitation to this meeting and give us some of this information. Meeting has to be stopped, be continued in future date. I had been doing the request that parent support group wants to be included on the conversations that are being held about alternative programs for students with disciplinary problems. We all know that the student disciplinary problems exist. We also cannot deny that in many occasions these policies greatly harm special education students, because if the student doesn't speak to defend themselves from the accusation, that is already a big problem. If we add that the student does not understand the problem in which he is involved, this makes the situation even bigger. We are not against having disciplinary rules, but we are talking about is the policies has to be reviewed and, if necessary, to make changes to them. It is not fair to punish a student who doesn't understand the problem he's in, or not allow the students to defend themselves to avoid being harassed by another student or administrator. Yes, you heard that right, by administrator. Because when you exercise your right to self-defense, you are also punished. This is a reaction to every human being when we feel attacked. For these reasons, parents and students need to be part of the future conversations. They can help if they are given the opportunity to speak up and be heard. Also, I want to let everybody know that when I question some of the things the district does wrong or doesn't do, it's not for me to make the district look bad. The district itself makes itself look bad. We can continue asking for authorization for SISD to create a special education community oversight committee. It's not the rebels who create the world problems. It's the world problems that create the rebels. Quoted by Ricardo Flores Magón, Mexican revolutionary. No son los rebeldes los que crean los problemas del mundo, son los problemas del mundo los que crean a los rebeldes. Citado por Ricardo Flores Magón, revolucionario mexicano. Do we fear our enemies more than we love our children? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our second speaker is Sammy Correjo. Mr. Correjo, you signed up for
Split it. Yes, ma'am. Thank
two
you.
and a half, or 3 and 2?
2.5, please. Thank you. That was so nice. On that note, I was expecting to talk to Mr. Nájera. Every time we have this conversation, it's not as nice. So thank you so much. I was not expecting that. It was very nice. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about Mr. Nájera since he's not here. Last month that we were in a meeting, I had an issue with being able to speak. Now, not just in public forum, but when you read the rules, they should be applied to everybody. Last month, there was an altercation where I spoke up and I was asked to leave. Oh, and for the record, thanks to the SROs, they were so professional. They didn't arrest me this time. I loved it. The issue here is, you guys can laugh, no big deal. Here's the issue though. Mr. Gandara was not asked to leave. He was as loud, as obnoxious as everything as I was, yet Mr. Nájera allowed him to continue speaking. Okay, when you enforce the rules, they gotta be enforced equally. And I do not agree with Mr. Gandara, who's running for school board, to be treated differently. At the end of the day, he's just like everybody else. So what I was gonna tell Mr. Nájera is that freedom of speech is protected by our civil rights. So every single time that Mr. Nájera decides to treat people differently, allow them or not to allow them to speak, he is violating our rights. That's one of the things that we gotta stand up for, okay? I serve my country to give you, everybody the right to speak, whether I agree with you or not. And what Mr. Nájera does is he's violating my right and everybody else's right, and I will not put up with that, okay? So as we see, there's a whole lot less people than there was last month, right? And everybody expected that. It's almost empty out there. And for those watching on YouTube, don't stop coming. No change is going to be made if you only come once. No change is going to happen if you don't continue to push the buttons, push the people. And like Mr. Aguado said, we're not here to tell you how bad the district is just to prove that you guys are bad people. We're here to identify the problems, but not just identify them. That's easy. Offer solutions is what we're here to do. We're here to make this a better district. Mr. Vasquez just said, oh, we have 400 new students. Great, but guess what? For us to grow, and I say us, the district, we need to, 1, recruit, and 2, retain. So we're here to help. You guys might look at me, oh, here's this fat guy. Yeah, you can laugh, I'm fat. This fat guy just coming here to fight with us. No. My kids come to this district. I want them to be at the best district. But when it's not happening, it's not being done, I'm gonna do what I can to make it happen. I'm not just gonna point fingers. I'm going to find solutions. So I ask that any single time anybody comes here, whether it's a homeless man, whether it's a person with a doctorate degree, a teacher, you give them the exact same respect in speaking in public. Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thank you. Our third speaker tonight is Philip Lane. Mr. Lane, I understand you've signed up for 3 items.
Right.
Do you want to speak of them all during your open forum?
Yes. Yes,
So
I
you
think
have
that-
5 minutes.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Board Vice President Nahara, members of the board, and interim superintendent, Mr. Vasquez. Of course, my name is Philip Lane. I'm a resident of District 5, and I've looked at the information that's going to be presented during tonight's budget and legislative update and financial update, and I've got a few concerns that I want to share with you. Yeah, even though Socorro ISD has made plans to lay off about 300 employees, the preliminary budget for next year is still showing about an $8.5 million budget deficit. Of that $8.5 million, $7 million is directly tied to the healthcare plan. And when you're considering the amount of staff and enrollees you might have in your healthcare plan next year with the layoffs, you might be looking at about 4,800, maybe a little bit less. And because you're self-insured, I think that's putting you at a very high risk of financial catastrophe. If you have any increase in healthcare costs per enrollee, that could just bankrupt the district. All it would take is about $3,560 per enrollee in your healthcare. If they spend that much more than you're expecting, you could pretty much go bankrupt. So you're very much at risk for that. And $3,560 when it comes to medical costs is absolutely nothing in today's market. And I wouldn't want that to happen, because I think the board is committed to being here now, next year, and into the future. And I don't think you want the TA commissioner to come in and appoint a board of managers or a commissioner of his choosing. The other side effect of that is if you go bankrupt, you could leave your employees holding the bag on their healthcare costs because you might not have any money to pay those healthcare costs. Anytime I go to pay, get a medical procedure, I'm always agreeing to pay if the health insurance doesn't pay for whatever reason. So I'm thinking what might make more sense for the district is a fully insured healthcare plan instead of a self-insured healthcare plan. Even though you might pay a few more bucks up front, you're going to protect yourself from any unnecessary risk on the tail end. The other thing I'm concerned about is what I see as the board's use of your internal auditor. You've got a very good internal auditing team, but what I've seen in this district is the board not taking ownership of that internal auditor. I've seen that as something that has been deferred to administration. And I think it's important that the board take that ownership of that internal auditor back and direct the activities of the internal auditor. Last month when I was here, I was talking about some salary issues that I noticed in some reports filed to TEA. And since that time, I've pulled the TA master file. I've looked at a lot of data. And what I can tell you is in 2022, 2023, SISD had 3 teachers reported to the state as earning more than $130,000. And I wouldn't believe that. In 2023, 2024, there were 28 teachers reported to the state as earning more than $122,000. And I wouldn't believe that based on the data that I was looking at there. The top teacher was earning more than $145,000. So there's some really unusual financial information being reported to the state. Now, in the current year, all the numbers look pretty good. So I'm grateful for whatever change has been made. And what I've noticed is the amount of earnings isn't consistent. One year, a teacher might earn that top amount, and in a prior year, they may be earning half of that. And I would think that any teacher would recognize if they go from $145,000 to $70,000, they'd notice that on their paycheck. And I think they would also notice that they suddenly got twice the amount of money in their paycheck. And even though these discrepancies look bad, these are discrepancies you can see across the state, because when you get the teacher master file, you get the data from all the districts. So there's a lot of problems with this report in the state of Texas. And I think one thing the board can do to protect itself, because when you see data like that, you don't know if it's a clerical error, if it's a compliance issue, if it's financial fraud. You don't know any of that. But effectively using your internal auditor is the best tool you can use to safeguard the district to make sure that everything is above board. So I would encourage you to consider the fully funded healthcare plan and to make better use of your internal auditor.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Julia Vetta.
Good evening, Mr. Vasquez and members of the board. My name is Julia Vera, and I am David Serrano's sister. My brother is a freshman at Eastlake High School. I am here because I care deeply about my brother and the challenges he faces at school. He's an amazing person, kind, hardworking, and full of potential. But when he comes home, he is upset because he's been bullied, ignored, or misunderstood, and it breaks my heart. It's even harder to hear him say that he feels like no one listens to him when he asks for help. I understand that school policies are meant to keep everyone safe, but those policies don't always feel fair for students like my brother. When someone else hurts or bothers him, he's taught to go to an adult for help. But what happens when that help doesn't come? How is it fair to punish someone for standing up for themselves when they've run out of other options? My brother works hard to follow his IEP and his BIP, Behavioral Intervention Plan. And I'm grateful for his special education teacher for sticking to it. But when other staff don't follow it, it creates problems that aren't his fault. He deserves a chance to explain himself and be treated with understanding, not just punished, because it's easier. I'd like to ask the board, what steps are you taking to ensure the students like my brother are treated fairly and protected from harsh punishments when they're just trying to defend themselves? How are you ensuring that all staff follow the IEPs and the BIPs so students with disabilities can succeed? Thank you for your time listening to me and my brother. He may not speak for himself tonight, but his voice and the voices of students with disabilities deserve to be heard. I hope we can work together to make sure they are. Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Vera. Thank you. Diana Serrano?
Okay, so my son was supposed to be here tonight. His bus was very late, so he's barely eating lunch, so he's not here tonight. So I will be reading something he wrote on his behalf first. Good evening, Mr. Vasquez and members of the board. My name is David Serrano. I'm a 9th grade student at Eastlake High School in special education. I feel sad, frustrated, and sometimes angry when students bother me or bully me at school. I'm told to go to an adult for help instead of fighting back. But what happens if the adult doesn't listen to me? I feel like defending myself is the only choice sometimes. But if I do, your rules say I will get punished. Why should I be punished for protecting myself? I know my SPED teacher follows my IEP and my behavioral intervention plan, and I'm grateful for him for that. But what happens when the other teachers and staff don't follow it? It doesn't feel fair to me, and it makes things harder for me. When I'm trying to stand up for myself and make my voice heard, but instead of being understood, I feel ignored. That's not fair, especially when I'm doing my best to explain my side. I just want to be heard. I just want to be helped when I ask for it. I want to ask, what are you all doing to make sure kids like me, kids with disabilities, aren't punished too harshly because we get in trouble because of another student or another teacher or another staff, and they don't understand? What are you doing to make sure everyone follows all of the kids' IEPs and plans? How can we make our schools safer and better for students like me? And this is on my behalf. Thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts alongside my son's concerns. My name's Diana Serrano, and I'm the proud parent of David. Listening to my son express the difficulties him and other students face in Socorro ISD is deeply emotional and concerning for me as a parent. I have seen firsthand how these challenges affect them, not just academically, but emotionally as well. It breaks my heart to know that he sometimes feels unheard, even when he is following the guidelines SISD is asking from him. I want to advocate for David and all the other special needs students within our district. These children depend on the consistency, the support outlined in their IEPs and their behavioral intervention plans. But when those plans are not followed, the consequences fall unfairly on them. We owe it to these students to ensure they feel safe, understood, and supported in their learning environment. I kindly urge you all to prioritize revising the Student Code of Conduct and also provide additional training to everyone working with our kids, not just special education staff. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to finding lasting solutions that honor the needs of all of our SPED students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Serrano. That was our last speaker for open forum. Now we've got number 5, a public hearing on hazardous transportation bus routes, but we do have a speaker signed up. Tommy Hill? To do it as part of the public hearing? No problem. So, Mr. Harmon?
Good evening, Board Vice President Nájera, members of the board, Superintendent Mr. Vasquez. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather, so just my voice. So I'm back with the presentation part. I'm going to say part 4 of 4 parts that we did. We went out to the community. We did conduct our community meetings at the campuses to advise parents what the proposed changes were going to be for the school bus routes. We did have 2 campuses that were going to be directly affected. Those were Carrasco and Horizon Heights. I'm sorry, 3 campuses, and Horizon and Enzer. We had 10 community members present at the Sergeant Jose Carrasco Elementary meeting. We had 5 community members present at Horizon Heights, and we had no community members show up logged in for our online meeting. And like usual, we're communicating with the members of the community, and there's always questions as to the safety of their children, which we understand. I did want to highlight some of the questions that were most asked and concerns and any suggestions that we had. There were some suggestions that were addressed with some of those parents. Those parents were contacted. We took care. They had some good recommendations on some of the stops that we had in the Horizon Heights boundary, so those were addressed and taken care of. So as you can see, these were the most common questions. The one question that was more of a concern that kept coming up was the John Hayes intersection, Charles Foster and John Hayes intersection. That is the intersection directly west of Pebble Hills High School. Only because that's probably the largest crossing that they would have to make. So myself, along with a few of the other committee members made up of Security Supervisor Olga Hernandez, our Assistant Director of Emergency Operations Management, Mr. Solis, and our Maintenance Coordinator, Mr. Rafael Padilla, did go out there and set up a review at that intersection just to physically review all the traffic flow, what was happening, number of pedestrians, if any, that were going through there and to see. And the biggest takeaway from that observation, we just wanted to point out that the intersection is clearly identified with a crosswalk. All stop signs are in place. We have an open, clear area with no obstructions to impede view of any of the pedestrians. One of the other major items, most of the traffic is flowing north and south, which is the direction that pedestrians from the campus would be walking anyway, so there wasn't that much traffic east and west. So that was another part. As I did tell some of the parents in the community, I don't ever want to say or me myself deem something 100% safe. There is a risk in everything that we do, even in everything, So, but I did just want to specify what the recommendations were by TEA and why we follow them, and hence why we had to make the recommendation to remove the stops from that area. Based on tonight's meeting, any follow-up information will be addressed to those community members, to the community again. We will go to the school administration. We will get the information out there. Anything else, any other questions that may come up after the fact, we will certainly be addressing those as well. That concludes my portion.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Mr. Hill, would you like to speak? But you go ahead and then we'll finish up. Thank you.
Where I do know that we have to report this. I get that part. It has to be reported if it's under that. Okay, so I did some logistics here. Just the John Hayes right there is approximately 1.6 miles. To Playa Point is approximately 1.7, 1.75 miles. To East Cave Park is 1.9 miles. Now, the pickups are on the south and the north of East Cave Park. So they're saying that this is going to affect 105. It's going to affect 105 per day. But when you look at the stat of those things, this could affect up to 200 students because the list of there, and not all those students show up every single day, but you will get approximately 105 on those bus routes every single day. So that's, you know, that is a little talking point there. So these kids that are on these routes range from pre-K, kinder, or first through 5. Would you allow your pre-K or kinder to walk across John Hayes 1.9 miles to school 40 minutes to get to school? Would you allow your first, second, third, fourth, and fifth? What are we doing in the way of customer service by doing this? We are telling the community we don't really care. There is a Idea School. I got a little bit of information. They're looking for 300 kids to fill their school up. Are we trying to give it to them? I know that's not what we're trying to do. But if we're saying that this is a budgetary, and they're saying it's not, but don't you think that we're going to lose more kids if we get rid of these bus routes? And then last year, there was 4 buses there. This year, there's 3. They're all packed. And now we're going to go down to 1. And you know what happens when you go to 1 bus? These kids are going to all try to go over to the bus route and get on that bus. So what's going to really happen? It's going to come to 2, and you're going to create a catastrophe. We should not take away these routes. They're very important. These parents need these routes. Please think about this very hardly, what we're thinking of doing tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Is there any other public comment? Mr. Woodcraft?
Thank you, ma'am. And before we get started, I've also signed up for an item, so I'll use 2 minutes of my time here, please.
Perfect. Thank you.
Members of the board, Mr. Vasquez, my name is Ryan Woodcraft, and I was one of the 10 community members that we saw at the Carrasco Elementary Hazardous Routes Transportation Update provided to you by the Department of Transportation. I want to start by thanking the department for their excellent presentation that evening as well as this. They provided a great update to the community and answered as many questions as they could to the best of their ability and the extent of their authority. The elected trustee for the district was not present at that meeting, nor was either of our at-large trustees. The school administrator that was present was seemingly unprepared to answer questions, and because of this, some members of the community were left with unanswered questions and were frustrated by this process. As the presentation tonight showed, there were legitimate community concerns, and some steps have been taken, but we need to go further. The intersection at John Hayes and Charles Foster is not an SISD issue. It is a city issue. Mr. Vasquez, City Representative Ivan Nino and yourself had a meeting not too long ago. This is the type of partnership that we need to leverage. I have already communicated with Representative Nino that a safety improvement for that intersection would be welcomed. Not only will our elementary school students need to navigate it, but so do the Pebble Hills High School students. There have been nearly a half dozen changes to that intersection over the past year, and navigating that area daily shows me that one 75-minute observation window in the morning and no observation window in the afternoon will show you what you need. The school administrator present stated that the school would relax their tardy policy for the first week or so of school until parents became acclimated to the removal of the bus routes. While this is a good start, that administrator also needs to properly properly and clearly address the traffic flow into and out of the school for pickup and drop-off. As with many neighborhoods in the Upper East Side, there's a significant amount of traffic congestion. The drop-off lines of vehicles at Carrasco routinely wraps around the parking lot, reaches the end of Tierra Mirage, extends south toward down Tierra Garden, reaching the traffic circle. The school administrators must look at an alternate traffic control pattern, such as using Tierra Emery and Tierra Eliana. Leadership presence and community responsiveness are key when addressing issues like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for the public hearing on our transportation routes? Are there any questions from the board? Ms. Macias?
Just a couple of questions. Thank you, Mr. Harmon. I know you had shared this previously. Just for clarification, there's 2 buses currently proposed to be impacted. There is a difference between ridership and then the number of students impacted. What are those numbers?
So as far as we know, the ridership currently in that area was about, with those 3 buses combined, it's about 120 students. That was shared initially in the beginning, the amount of students that would be affected. Total students in the area that live within the neighborhood, I believe is a little over 400 students. So not everybody participates in transportation. I don't know if that was the question you were.
No, that does help for the clarity. Then the second part, I know that there's a possibility, we always look at hazardous routes. So teach me again why this area doesn't qualify as a hazardous route based on what we heard just right now, as far as that intersection, the concern of it's a 4-way stop versus having signals, the high congestion. So looking at, I know there's a definition for hazardous routes, why doesn't this area qualify anymore?
So the state defines a hazardous condition where no walkway is provided, an area that is designated as presenting a high risk of violence in area, or students must walk along or cross a freeway, an uncontrolled major traffic artery, an underpass, an industrial or commercial area, or another comparable condition such as an area under construction, a flood zone, and or hazardous railroad crossing. In this particular case, the construction was the biggest concern. There was a park that was under construction next to the campus, and those students from that area, since that construction is complete, we no longer have any potential hazards available there. So the construction, as far as home construction in the neighborhoods that we can see, is about 98% at completion already. There's no homes under construction, whereas last year we still had some. And then, of course, the area, the park that was there, which was, they had all sorts of irrigation lines and the construction of the park. And all that area was completed about maybe, I'm going to say back in, for sure, March of last year. So we just wanted to make sure that we gave the parents a reasonable time to adjust to the possible change, the recommendation.
And just for clarity, I think you mentioned uncontrolled, and I'm trying to find the actual, it says hazardous, let's see, comparable condition, uncontrolled major traffic artery. So would that area qualify for that, and why doesn't it?
An uncontrolled would mean, as far as we've gone and looked and checked, it would be something where there would be, where you don't have the 4-way stop. The 4-way stop qualifies it as a controlled intersection. You may not have traffic signals, but the 4-way stop, the pedestrian crosswalk, deems it a controlled intersection.
Do we have any area currently that has the same characteristics that we have identified as hazardous within the district?
So right now, and that question did come up in the community, and like I said, we've looked in other areas the same, and we have comparable areas where they have the same condition with the elementary kids, students, scholars having to walk that distance, whether they choose to walk or they're transported by their parents, but we do have similar conditions where there is no bus in place.
And it's not identified as a hazardous area?
It's not identified as hazardous, correct, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
If I may, As Mr. Woodcraft mentioned, I did meet with Representative Ivan Nino a couple of weeks ago. It was more of a get-to-know-you meeting, but we did talk about this area in particular and the need for maybe the crosswalks, the painted lines, or one of those flashers or something in the area. So he's aware, and I had been made aware. I've been in that area before, but I continue to have those talks to see what we can do to make this as safe as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Harmon.
Thank you.
Item number 6, district reports. Item A, budget and legislative update. We do have 2 people signed up to speak on this agenda item. And our first speaker is Mr. Woodcraft.
Just enough time for a drink of water. Members of the board, Mr. Vasquez, and district staff. The city of El Paso will likely adopt a budget this year that will raise our property taxes, and the county just voted this week to issue $54 million in non-voter approved debt. Over the course of the next year, our county and city governments will put taxpayers on the hook for over $1 billion of principal and interest for new debt issuance. Now, SISD, the highest of our 5 taxing entities, is starting the process of maximizing our property taxes and then asking voters to further raise the tax rate to generate more revenue. Our community has one of the highest property tax rates in the nation. The median home value in SISD is around $280,000, while the median individual income is around $35,000, partnered with a poverty rate around 13%. With a community in this type of economic situation, further raising property taxes will only hurt our most vulnerable population disproportionately. This is the same district who has not had a balanced budget in roughly 10 years and has a projected $8 million deficit for the next school year. You recently took out a $25 million loan just a few months ago to pay staff salaries in order to keep our doors open, and will let 300 teachers and staff go before the next school year begins. The same district who recently overcharged taxpayers for the M&O rate you are now talking about increasing, and the same district who is now under TEA conservatorship because of a history of poor financial decisions. Everyone on this board holds some responsibility for where we are today, some more than others due to the length of time you have sat in your seat. The Board of Trustees have not been good stewards of taxpayer dollars. And until you are, we have no business asking the voters to give us more of their hard-earned money. The communication plan laid out in this presentation potentially reeks of psychological warfare and distorts the truth to fit a false narrative. While there are some external forces which we cannot control, this collective body has failed the taxpayers of our community. This body assumed that enrollment would remain sky-high, that property values would continue to inflate, and that you wouldn't have to take full advantage of state and federal level grants, or that taxpayers will approve whatever you want if you label it for the kids. This district has not been fully transparent, nor have personnel been held accountable when it comes to use of funds. So why should taxpayers believe us now? Because the conservators are here? You may want to have your legal team take a deep look at who your designated spokespersons are and how they communicate your key messages. If an elected official advocates for the passage of a measure, they are in direct violation of the Texas Ethics Code and will be subject to an investigation by the Texas Ethics Commission. No matter how much factual information about the purposes of an election there are, any amount of advocacy is impermissible. For example, the following phrase has already been deemed a violation by the TEC. After examining our options in each department's budget, we are left with only one way to generate the monies needed to continue programs and services that are essential to our student success. We must have a change in our tax rate. That means asking voters to go to the polls and vote in a tax rate election. If approved, the district's rate would still be considerably lower than it was just 3 years ago. Thankfully, this item was listed on the agenda tonight as information only and not for action to be taken, so there is still time to make course corrections. Once again, thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Woodcraft. And our next speaker is Sammy Correjo. I apologize. My wrong. Sorry. Different item. Thank you. I'm sorry. Mr. Solis.
Good evening, Board Vice President Nájera, board members, and Superintendent Vasquez. David Solis, Chief Financial Officer for the district. This evening, we continue our series of presentations, discussions, and legislative updates as we work toward the adoption of the 25-26 budget in June. Before we dive into budget and legislative updates, I'd like to provide an update on the separation incentive and provide some information on the next tax revenue note. The separation incentive approved on March 6th offers the first 100 eligible employees a $2,500 incentive if they submit an early resignation notice to Human Resources by 5 o'clock on April 7th. As of March 19th, the district had received 43 qualifying early resignation notices, resulting in an initial cost of approximately $110,000 and projected savings of $3.1 million. Since then, the district has received an additional 11 notices, bringing the total estimated cost to about $138,000 and projected savings to $3.9 million. Given the current participation level, administration is not recommending any changes to the separation incentive at this time. As previously mentioned, the district will need to secure another short-term loan to help meet our payment obligations in August. August is one of the months in which the district does not receive any state funding. This year, the anticipated need is approximately $35 million. This slide outlines a preliminary timetable for the issuance and delivery of the funds. Our goal is to distribute the term sheet to prospective bidders by April 7th, giving financial institutions approximately 3 weeks to review the information, submit questions, and allow the district time to respond accordingly. A special board meeting will be required for the board to consider and approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of the note. While the proposed date for this meeting is April 29th, there is flexibility to schedule it on another day during that week if needed. We aim to have the funds delivered in May, which would ensure they are available well in advance of the anticipated need in August. As you are aware, several other districts in our region are also considering similar short-term financing to bridge funding gaps during the early months of their fiscal year. Based on discussions with our financial advisor, it may be advantageous to move forward with securing this funding before competition for these funds increases. This chart highlights the legislative priorities for the Governor, Senate, and House of Representatives. Items that impact public education have been bolded and enlarged slightly for easier identification. As shown, school choice, property tax relief, and teacher compensation increases are shared priorities across all three bodies. All right, beginning with legislative updates. While both the House and Senate introduced similar appropriation bills, their underlying mechanics do differ. Each bill includes increases to golden penny yields and additional tax compression, but neither bill included a proposed increase to the basic allotment. HB 2 is the school funding bill from the House that proposes a $220 increase to the basic allotment. So for every $100 increase, our district receives approximately $6 million in added funding. HB 2 would generate just over $13 million in additional funding for us. HB 2 would also address teacher compensation by increasing the required percentage allocated for compensations from 30% to 40% of the basic allotment increase. This means that a little over $5 million of the $13 million in additional funding would be designated for compensation increases. HB 2 also transitions to a new special education funding formula and includes funding for fine arts and property insurance allotments. There are two bills related to school safety, SB 260 and HB 124. Current funding provides $10 per student in ADA and $15,000 per campus, totaling $1.2 million for our district. SB 260 would double this amount to about $2.4 million, and HB 124, while it proposes different allocations, it would still result in roughly the same funding allocation, around $2.5 million. SB 26 is the Senate's proposal for teacher compensation. It introduces a teacher retention allotment. For a district our size, it will provide $2,500 for teachers with 3 to 5 years of experience and $5,500 for those with 5 or more years. But unlike the House bill, SB 26 limits this compensation to classroom teachers. SB 26 would also expand the teacher incentive allotment by adding new recognized designations, increasing funding for current designations, and allowing the children of classroom teachers to qualify for pre-K eligibility. There are several bills currently addressing property tax relief. The Senate recently passed SB 4, which would increase the homestead exemption from $100,000 to $140,000, effective for the tax year 2025. This would require voter approval in November. The House's approach to property tax relief focuses on additional tax rate compression in HB 8 and raising the business personal property exemption from $2,500 to $250,000 in HB 9. An additional bill of interest is HB 698. This bill would create a joint interim committee to explore replacing local property tax revenue with sales and use tax revenue, essentially aiming to eliminate property taxes. Lastly, we have updates related to bond elections and voter approval tax rate, or elections or VATers. These updates focus on shifting elections to uniform dates and establishing a supermajority requirement for passage of each. Before I review the next slide, I want to share a few important points to help frame the discussion. First, the numbers presented this evening are still preliminary. While they reflect our best current estimates, we anticipate updates as additional information becomes available. We're currently projecting a 10% increase in property values based on historical trends. I'll be meeting with the Central Appraisal District next week on April 4th to review preliminary values and gather more accurate data, which will be reflected in future budget updates. Campuses and departments submitted their budgets at the end of February. Since then, our team has been reviewing the submitted information, including the request for additional funding. This process is still underway and will incorporate any adjustments as we finalize the proposed budget. In addition, I want to take a moment to recognize the extensive work completed by Human Resources. The last couple of weeks, they have been working to finalize the verification of staffing reductions submitted by campus administrators under policy DFFB. This is a detailed and time-consuming process, and I want to acknowledge Mrs. Guillen and Mrs. Stiles and her team for their thoroughness and commitment to ensuring DFFB is followed with fidelity. At this time, I'll turn it over to Ms. Stiles so she can provide an update on that process.
Good evening, Vice President Nájera, members of the board, Superintendent Mr. Vasquez. I'm Selena Stiles, Interim Chief Human Resources Officer for the district. The update I wanted to provide for you all tonight was since we've implemented the early separation incentive notice, it kind of put a little bit of a wrench in how we were notifying employees. The deadline for them to submit that notice is next Friday, April 7th. And I know we had talked about anticipating starting all the notifications as early as April 1st, but we would hate to preemptively notify somebody when there's a resignation that's received and it would reverse that action. So we're shifting the timeline a little bit just because we want to make sure that we're very thorough in how we're addressing that, and we don't want to inadvertently notify somebody that doesn't need to be notified. Our plan is to bring the information to you for the April board meeting, so those individuals will need to be notified before then. But just so you know, there's a little bit of the shift in that timeline. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Oh, just, no, keep going.
Okay.
I'll have my questions.
Okay, now moving into the general fund comparison for next fiscal year. As in the previous fiscal year, state aid continues to represent just over 70% of our general fund revenue. As previously presented, we are projecting student enrollment decline of approximately 770 students for the upcoming school year. This decline does have a direct impact on our state funding. Additionally, due to the inverse relationship between property values and state aid, rising local property values are expected to further reduce the state's share of funding. Taken together, these factors result in a projected decrease of approximately $8.6 million in total revenue when compared to the adopted 24-25 budget. This equates to a 2% decline year over year. When reviewing our general fund expenditures, payroll continues to make up the largest portion of the budget, currently accounting for 86%. Many of the current year vacancies have been closed, resulting in a reduction in payroll costs compared to the prior year. Contracted services represent another 7% of the budget. A significant portion of this category is attributed to utilities, which include electric, gas, water, and waste disposal, totaling approximately $15 million. In addition, copier leases for departments and campuses amount to $6.2 million, while the tax appraisal and collection fees come in at around $3 million. When combined, these three service areas account for just over 5% of the total general fund expenditures. Supplies and materials make up 3% of the budget. Within this category, nearly $2 million is allocated for fuel used by our buses and district vehicles. We've also budgeted $1.6 million for custodial supplies, $1.3 million for career and technical education program supplies, and $2.7 million for campus and departmental needs. In the other operating expense category, Key cost drivers include insurance and student travel. Our property and casualty insurance alone totals $4.4 million, representing 37.2% of this category. Travel for athletics, fine arts, and academic programs contributes an additional $4 million, or 32.8%, while travel related to early college, high school, and health science programs adds another $1.7 million, or 14.4%. So after accounting for the major fixed and reoccurring costs such as payroll, utilities, copier leases, tax-related fees, fuel, and insurance, the district is left with approximately $35 million, or about 7% of the general fund budget, to operate all other functions. Before accounting for staffing reductions, the district was facing a preliminary operating deficit of $16.9 million. We anticipate that once the staffing reductions are finalized, the deficit will be significantly reduced to approximately $1.5 million. However, we must also factor in the planned $7 million transfer to the health fund, which brings the revised projected deficit to $8.5 million. Over the next couple of months, we will focus our efforts on closing this gap. The savings from the separation incentive will, of course, contribute toward achieving that goal. We're currently navigating a number of challenges, some of which are outside of our control. Inflation continues to affect our day-to-day operations by increasing the cost of goods and services. In addition, there's the potential for rate increases from our utility providers, which would mean higher utility bills for the district. We also have aging buildings, which require constant upkeep with equipment, and in some cases, the need to replace that equipment entirely. On top of that, the student devices we purchased during the pandemic are reaching the end of their life. Unlike before, we no longer have ESSER funding available to help with these critical technology replacements. At the federal level, recent actions in Washington could impact important programs such as adult education, support for homeless children and youth, and Title II funding, which is used to support effective instruction. And of course, there's fund balance. Right now, our immediate goal is to stabilize our financial position, but looking ahead, the bigger question is, how do we rebuild our fund balance, especially with enrollment declining and the potential for no increase in state funding? This is going to require a combination of sustained financial discipline, favorable legislative outcomes, and ultimately the successful passage of a VADER, which would give us access to more local funding. This slide provides an overview of the history of employee compensation increases. From 2014 through 2019, annual increases ranged between 1.5% and 3%. In 2019, the legislature increased the basic allotment from $5,140 to $6,160. As part of this increase, school districts were required to use 30% of the additional funding specifically for employee compensation. This is why employees saw a significant increase in 2020. What stands out in this chart is a similar increase provided in 2023. However, unlike in 2020, the district did not receive any additional funding from the state to support that raise. Like many districts in our region, we did not implement a compensation increase this year. Looking ahead, any compensation increase would likely be limited to what is mandated through legislative action. At this time, I'll turn the presentation over to Mr. Carmona, who will provide an update on healthcare enrollment and share future considerations for our health plan.
Madam Chair, before we get to that, I want to make a couple of points that you're going to be facing, you and potentially new board members that'll be coming. One thing that you know that you have to do is adopt a budget by the end of the fiscal year. One thing that you know very little about, I was in Austin 2 weeks ago, and there's a lot of moving parts. There's all kinds of bills. The time to introduce any new bills is just about expired. And there are bills that are getting hearings, and they're going from one house to the other, and there is significant disagreement. That disagreement won't be resolved until conference committee towards the end of the session. And that's when you will have some certainty about that. Also, I was in Washington this past weekend, and with the uncertainty of the Department of Ed, one thing that is certain is that the department has been stripped of much of its authority. But no one needs to panic at this point because as I was at the Capitol, and, Title I has gone to another department. E-rate has gone to another department. Even like Office of Civil Rights is going to another division. No one really knows what's going to happen, and you probably won't know if there's going to be an impact on your resources, federal resources, by the time you have to adopt your budget. Of course, that's a different kind of bucket because it's reimbursable and typically has a different even fiscal year, and it's not part of your general operating, but it does have an impact on you. So as you're considering all this, as people come up to you in the community and ask you, there's just not enough information for you to make a sound decision. You need to continue to gather feedback from your staff, but I think the most important thing is having some fiscal discipline, regardless of where you end up. So a lot more to come, and we'll keep you posted as that goes, and I'll turn it over to the staff to go over the healthcare information.
Thank you, Dr. Hinosa. Mr. Carmona?
Good evening, Vice President, Mrs. Nájera, Interim Superintendent, Mr. Vasquez, members of the board, Mayra Carmona, Director of Human Resources over Benefits and Risk Management. As mentioned by Mr. Solis, I'll be providing a couple of brief updates when it comes to the end results of our last open enrollment campaign. And thankfully, based on the effort that we made to be able to continue to educate our employees, we did see a shift in terms of the enrollment per plan. On the table on top of the slide, you'll see that there was an increase on the consumer-driven health plan from 6% in 2024 to a projected 17% in 2025. I'd like to point out that the enrollment percentages fluctuate from month to month since we do have new hires, resignations, retirements, and so on and so forth. So as we continue to bring information forward, you'll see a slight change in numbers, but it's due to that type of activity. And then further down in the chart with the bars, you can see how the actual numbers in terms of the enrollment per plan. You'll see that the consumer-driven health plan went from a membership of 299 up to 876. And it was good to hear from people that as they became a little bit more familiar with this not so familiar option, if you will, some of their comments were, what haven't I done this before? So it's just a matter of us becoming better informed consumers and see what works best for each and everyone's situation. Another reminder is that we recently applied some changes, significant changes to our plan design, and our plan runs January through December 31st. That's a difference when we compare it to our fiscal year. So a question that has come up every so often is, well, how are we doing in our health plan? At this point, it's somewhat soon to have actual performance numbers, if you will, but we will continue to monitor the performance of the health fund and monitor our claims experience. Though if you were to wonder what we could potentially recommend for the planned year for 2026, those recommendations will include, probably some of you might recall these recommendations, but are at this point the same recommendations that we made last year, to continue to consider to close the premier option, and if not, maintain that enrollment closed for new enrollment. Continue with the current structure as it is for the base and the consumer-driven health plan. And lastly, in effort to encourage enrollment to the consumer-driven health plan, increase the contribution from the school district to every employee per year from $800 to $1,200. This hopefully will encourage additional employees to take advantage of the options that are offered or the features that are offered through this particular plan option. Thank you.
Thank you.
While we continue working to control and reduce costs, we're also focused on identifying ways to generate revenue for our district. One of our strategies is maintaining and growing student enrollment. Our All-In Enrollment Committee has been actively reconnecting with families, most recently by organizing phone banks to personally invite students back to our district. Building on that momentum, the committee is now planning our first ever enrollment recruitment expo scheduled for this summer at SAC 2. We'll be sharing more details as those plans take shape. In response to feedback we've received, we've also launched online registration for grades K through 12 earlier this spring, with pre-K registration opening up on April 1st in accordance with state guidelines. So far, we're seeing encouraging results. As of this week, 53% of returning students have already completed online registration. As mentioned previously by Mr. Vasquez, 452 new students from outside the district have registered to attend our district next school year. To support these efforts, we've launched a targeted promotional campaign using social media, digital billboards, streaming, commercials, and location-based ads in high-traffic areas like the airport, the zoo, and soon we'll have advertising going up at Silla Vista Mall. In addition to enrollment, we're also focused on improving average daily attendance, or ADA. Despite the impact of this year's inclement weather, ADA has improved in 5 of 7 months of the school year. Our year-to-date ADA is 94.2%, which is nearly in line with last year's 94.3%. The progress reflects the strong efforts of our campuses. 45 campuses have shown attendance growth or led their category at least one 6-week period. Impressively, 22 campuses have done so consistently across multiple periods. To recognize the achievements, we've awarded attendance incentive funds to 29 campuses that either improved in attendance by 0.5% or more, or ranked among the top in their category. 7 of those campuses have received incentives multiple times for sustained performance. Beyond enrollment and attendance, we're also looking at the disposition of assets. To date, the district has generated over $9 million from the sale of properties. Recently, the board approved the sale of 4 additional properties with a combined appraised value of about $11 million. Tonight, we are also bringing forward 2 more properties for the board's consideration. Finally, we continue to explore the possibility of a voter approval tax rate election, or VATER. If approved by voters, a VATER could bring in up to $28 million in additional funding, resources that would be vital in meeting both our immediate financial needs and long-term goals. So with Election Day scheduled for November 4th this year, we've developed a timeline to ensure we meet all requirements related to a potential VATER. To move forward with a VATER, the board must first conduct an efficiency audit. State law requires that the auditor be selected at least 4 months before the election, which means the selection must be made no later than July 4th. While the board has not yet made a decision on whether to move forward with the VATER, we are taking proactive steps to be ready. That includes beginning the process of soliciting qualifications from auditors now, so that we'll be prepared in case the board chooses to proceed with the efficiency audit. If the board decides to move forward with a VATER, here's what the timeline would look like. On January 18th, the board would approve the selection of an auditor to conduct the required efficiency audit. On July 18th, the Texas Education Agency will open the local property value study. By July 25th, we expect to receive certified property values from the Central Appraisal District. And by August 1st, we would complete and submit the TA property value survey. On August 8th, we would post the official notice for public hearing, where the tax rate will be discussed. The deadline to officially order the VATER would be August 18th. If the efficiency audit is approved in June, the results from the efficiency audit would be posted by September 17th, followed by a public meeting to review the results on October 15th. Finally, Election Day would take place on November 4th. In anticipation of the approval to hold a VATER and working with our public relation and communication teams, a base communication plan has been developed to support the passage of the VATER. Many of the dates that I discussed have been included in the communication plan. So these stakeholder engagement meetings. So the goal of these upcoming stakeholder engagement meetings is to actively engage our community in the district's budget development process. These meetings are designed to foster transparency, build trust, and gather valuable feedback as we work to preparing a balanced budget. During the meetings, we will present the budget development timeline and walk participants through each step of the process. We'll also provide an overview of the district's current financial status and the challenges we are facing. And we will also clearly explain how the budget is being designed to align with our educational goals, while also addressing issues such as declining enrollment and the need to rebuild our fund balance for long-term financial stability. Most importantly, we'll create a space for interactive conversations. Attendees will have the opportunity to ask questions, share their perspectives, and participate in activities that help shape the district's financial decisions moving forward. And before I open up to questions, I'd like to take a moment to discuss the scheduling of a potential upcoming board budget workshop. If the board is agreeable, we'd like to propose holding the workshop on April 9th. During that meeting, we plan to review the current board budget, like your own budget within our budget, provide an opportunity for you to make necessary adjustments, potentially revisit the budget challenge activity that many of you participated in last year, and finally answer any questions you might have and schedule additional workshops based on your feedback and interest. This workshop is intended to support meaningful discussions and ensure the board has the tools and information needed to adopt the budget in June. And with that, I'll open up to any questions you might have.
You say April 9th?
April 9th. We know that potentially there's a meeting that may be scheduled that day, so that's the reason we selected that one, a special board meeting.
Scheduled for that day. Maybe not.
That's fine, but I'm open to whatever dates are convenient for you all to host that workshop.
We can put together some dates to make sure that we're all going to be here.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Solis.
You're
Do
welcome.
we have questions? Questions?
My first question is probably to Mr. Carmona. Mr. Carmona, on the three plans we have, and you were talking about possibly removing the premier option, if you were to go that route, how much of a savings would that be from everybody going from premier to the other two accounts?
So in terms of how much cost avoidance will be for the school district, that will be, if you look at the current enrollment under the Premier Plan, times 55 per employee. Don't have, can do the math real quick if you'd like for me to do that.
No, that's fine, sir.
Yes, though keep in mind that as soon as a change is made, those people most likely, if they continue to be insured under the school district, will shift to another option. And the contribution from the school district will continue to be 555 for the, of course, if there's no changes, for the year 2026. So it's just an estimate. It doesn't mean necessarily that so many people will drop from the health fund.
Thank you.
Potentially.
Any other questions?
Yes. Thank you. I think questions are for Mr. Solis.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Solis, thank you for sharing the legislative updates. Whenever you presented the legislative updates, right after that, you shared the preliminary budget comparison. Did you incorporate any of those variables within, just for clarification, that preliminary budget comparison?
I did. And the ones that I included were those that were included in both appropriation bills, because that's currently, we're pretty sure that's what's going to pass in terms of the golden penny yield and the tax compression.
The reason that I'm sharing that is that got us in the predicament that we are now, making assumptions that are not written. I know that Dr. Hinojosa mentioned it's not official until it's official. So that's something that I just want to bring clarity to. Based on what we learned is some of the assumptions that were made the last time didn't come to fruition. Therefore, the information that the board had to make decisions were truly not tangible and not clear to everybody. So just, if you could highlight those, that way where it's just very clear that if things don't come to fruition, then there has to be an immediate adjustment, probably in July.
And what I can share with you, Ms. Macias, is the two funding templates that we do use, the one from Region 10 provided by Omar and the one from TASBO. Those templates that we have, those are the ones that we're using that currently have this built into it. So those are the funding templates that we're using. So the updated ones already have this built into it. So that's the reason they're included.
Okay. One other thing I wanted to share, replacement of student devices. I know that we're going to be having workshops. I think that would be a great mechanism. I know as we look at what things we should keep, what things we could possibly look at, just putting numbers to those and what it looks like, and then also knowing the implication, of course. We want to do the least amount of impact to our students, so that as these things are listed, we know that we looked at them, but with data, then made an informed decision. And you could provide it later if you don't have it on the top of your head. I'm looking at the slide that said compensation history. What is the approximate cost of 1% compensation change?
Approximately $3 million. I think 2% is around $6 million, so 1% would be half of that, $3 million.
So about 3 million. And the reason I'm sharing that is I know that we've already made the decision, and once we make a decision as a board, we move forward. However, just looking at the fact that within our district, within our, I'm gonna say within our community, we all chip in to help all the time. And I know that we did compensation increases. What does it look like if we were all to take a pay cut? And I say all of us, because, my husband still works here, so we would all take to do the colecta to pitch in. What does that look like instead of saying, you no longer have a job, you're fired? So, is that something that we're, could be in the future looked at? Because some of those compensation, or going back to the legislative priorities, there are opportunities, hopefully, that with strings attached, that the state will give us compensation for certain entities. And just to make a long story short is, we've never done this in the past, and is that being looked at, that we could possibly say, a 1% decrease for all, so that we could get back to the balancing a budget. We all tighten up a little bit, but we're not laying anybody off moving forward.
So we can incorporate that in not only the budget workshop, but also in future presentations.
Just so that we could look at that, and that way we're looking at everything, and in making that informed decision. On the slide that says future revenue generations, the one thing that I just want the district to look at is our overflow system. I know that in the past that was something that was highlighted even at the state level, that instead of, when students came in, instead of hiring a new teacher because there was 3, 4, or 5 new students, they were actually overflowed where we had capacity within that neighborhood to actually serve them, and it wasn't an increase of the $65,000 for a teacher, give or take, with all of the fringe. So what does that look like? Is that something that we currently still have in place? Are we maximizing that? And then also maximizing the facilities, which is the boundaries. Have we touched that? As I go out, that's one thing that I hear, Ms. Macias, our school is getting itty bitty, and we have one teacher for maybe 17, 18 students. So just that available capacity to where that campus maybe is the overflow site, and somebody that is growing, we're not having to add teachers, just some of the historical piece that might help.
Okay, and what we can do is provide that information also in as far as the building capacities. We can include that in the next presentation.
If I can, Ms. Macias, regarding the pay decreases, and I know you had asked for that, I apologize for not getting that to you, but I have it here on my email. If we had a 1% decrease amongst all pay grades, that'd be about a $2.9 million savings. If we had a 1% decrease just for professional and admin pay grades, that'd be about $370,000. And if we had all non-campus professional and admin pay grades, that would be $226,000. And we'll get this to you in writing.
No, and it's really just for all of us. Again, it's truly knowing that we're looking at all of the data to make the best informed decision as we move forward, because unfortunately, it's not, I don't think I'm ever gonna be a grandma. I'm a tia abuela, I'll take that. So there is declining enrollment. So this is our reality that we have to just be looking forward in the future, and that way, hopefully through transparency, gain everybody's trust that this is unfortunately, the wave in the future. When I was coming in through SISD, the wave of the future was we were doing rainbow tracks and we were fast growing, and so that was the normal. But now it is, pendulum has shifted. Our little ones are saying, I'm gonna go live life and I'll give you a grandchild later, even though I bug them every day. But they don't have significant others, so that doesn't help. So anyway, I'll keep going. Don't tell them to watch this. They'll go, Mother. Other question.
Sure.
What was the last time that we approved a Vader in SISD? Or have we ever approved a Vader?
We have not approved a Vader, and typically we were taxing well below other districts, so we never passed a Vader, and so for that reason, it kind of adversely affected us when they did compression, because other districts were already at the maximum, say like neighboring districts were already at the $1.17 because they had already passed a tax rate, and the voters had already approved the increase, right? But we never have done that in recent. So that's the other challenge that we have too. Is I think the plan in talking to the former CFO was, eventually if there's the need arises, that we would go to the community, because obviously we were growing, values were increasing, so the need wasn't there. But unfortunately, in 2019, with the passage of the different HB3 legislation, we further got compressed. So that adversely affected us.
And just the reason I ask that is maybe that data also helps us to see, by not doing something, the risk averse, what are we leaving on the table? What is the implication of not moving forward? And then just the long-term effects of that, because I think I heard 28 million.
Right, if we were to pass all, we have 12 pennies available to us. The first three would generate about 18 million, which are the golden pennies. The remaining 9 copper pennies would generate approximately another 10 million, about $1 million each.
And I'm glad that you're mentioning the gold and the copper and the regular. I think even just the visual of what does that mean? Okay, if I'm gonna do it with a golden penny, what does that yield, and why copper penny, why it's a little bit less as valuable as the gold? And truly, what is it that we're getting with the regular, maybe 220 additional bucks in, due to the 6,060?
Right, and as I mentioned, the 220 would generate about 13 million. So for every $100 increase to the basic allotment, we get an additional approximately 6 million. So for the 220, about 13 million. But again, that is in the House bill, which does come with compensation increases tied to it.
And then one last question, just to teach me. So with the Vader, is that on the INS side of our money, or is it on the M&O?
No, this would be on the M&O side.
So therefore, on the INS side, maybe even talking about the defeasance. That way for our taxpayers, they could say, and again, in the ballot, we're gonna have to have the language that says that we're increasing, but maybe that way we could show them with the defeasance that we did to pay down our debt on the INS side. If we stop doing that, what sense do we have that then we could possibly use for the Vader, and then to the taxpayer, this is the net impact?
So we are actually having those conversations with our financial advisors. We recently met with them. As you see, I've only presented the general fund to you all. I do plan on bringing the other 2 funds, the child nutrition and debt service fund. But we are having those discussions with our financial advisors, because we do have capacity within our INS tax rate currently. So right now we're just evaluating what the different impact will be. So as soon as I have that meeting with the Central Appraisal District on April 4th, I'll be able to provide our financial advisors a little bit more information. The other thing that could impact other things would be the additional 40K in the homestead exemption, if that is ultimately passed by the legislature, because that would mean that our values would probably remain flat, as they did back when the increase was made from 40,000 to 100,000 a couple of years ago. So we are evaluating that, but I will provide that information to you.
And then just one of my final asks, how many taxing entities do we have for our taxpayers?
I believe it's 5. It's the city, the county, EPCC, us, and UMC.
And with that, just the ask, if there's a way that we could, again, be bold and bring everybody together, And that way they see that, you know, if we do have to have county go, just that cadence, and I know it's difficult because what's important to us is important to us. But that way at least the voters or our constituents know that we have a cadence. And that way, if it is the county, if it is, at least we have a series of, instead of us all going at the same time. I think that's what I continue to hear in any El Paso, and especially in El Paso, any forum that I'm at. Is there a way that we could just have those discussions? We might not get anywhere, but at least to just start having the discussions. So that's just an ask that I have.
Yeah, absolutely. We can work with him.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
And Mr. Solis, you're right, we've never done a VERA tax because we've always been a growing district, but matter of fact, a couple of years ago, several years ago, we were penalized by the state because we didn't raise taxes. And you mentioned on the VERA tax, I know at one point they were looking at 67%, so is it 60 now, percent that we have to win if we decide to go to VERA tax?
Let me just go back a little bit. Okay, so right now proposed in the different plans would be a super majority, so that would be increasing it to 60%. I believe right now it's a majority plus one, so it would increase it to 60%.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Solis, although you're not going anywhere. Item 6B, financial update as of January 31st, 2025.
Good evening again. David Solis, Chief Financial Officer for the district. Similar to what has been expressed in previous meetings and prior to joining the district, it wasn't clear sometimes to me how or where financial information was being communicated, especially since it wasn't part of the regular board meetings. Since joining the district, I have a better understanding, and I'd like to take a moment to share the current practice of communicating that information. Financial reports and updates are presented monthly during the Finance Committee meetings, which typically take place the week before each regular board meeting. At our most recent Finance Committee meeting, we discussed the idea of bringing those financial reports to the full board during regular meetings. I want to thank Ms. Macias and Mr. Nájera for their support and openness to this shift. We all agreed that this change would help make financial information more accessible to the public and support our shared goal of increasing transparency as we work to improve and strengthen the district's financial health. So moving forward, we will share monthly financial information and reports during regular meetings and provide a financial presentation every quarter, similar to the one I'll be giving this evening. So as of January 31st, the district's general fund revenues exceed expenses by $41.9 million. This is typical for this time of year and is mostly due to the majority of property tax revenues having been received during the months of December and January. The Child Nutrition Program generated approximately $21.7 million in revenues, primarily from federal funds, and has expenditures of $18 million as of the date of this report. The debt service fund, which is used to pay back the district's bond debt, brought in $65.6 million, and we paid $36.9 million in principal and interest payments. The final bond payments for the year, $17.1 million, were made in February. So far, we've expended 53.9% of the general fund budget. That's slightly higher, than this time last year. However, compared to last year, we've actually spent $12 million less on payroll and $5.9 million less on other expenditures. These savings are mainly due to the hiring freeze and closer review of all expenditure requests. State funding makes up about 68% of our general fund revenue, while local property taxes make up the rest. As of now, we've collected 88% of the property taxes we budgeted for this year, and we expect to collect about 98% of the taxes levied. This slide also shows how much of the budget has been spent in each category, with actual amounts spent and how much is remaining to spend. Overall, the district is spending below what we'd expect for at this point in the year. The Child Nutrition Program has spent about 47.9% of their budget so far. There has been an increase of about $1.5 million in non-payroll expenses, mostly due to higher prices for food and supplies compared to last year. About 93% of our child nutrition revenue comes from federal funding. This slide also shows how the budget is being used by category, including how much has been spent and how much still remains to be spent. Just like the general fund, most spending is tracking below expected levels at this point in the year. This slide shows our debt payment schedule through 2046. As you can see from the chart, debt payments are spread out fairly evenly throughout the years, which makes it easier for the district to plan and manage these long-term financial obligations. We made our final bond payments for the year in February, totaling $17.1 million. This slide also shows how much of the debt service budget has been spent and what remains. This slide covers the district's internal service funds, which includes the print shop, workers' compensation fund, and the health fund, which is used to pay for employee health benefits. As of the end of January, the health fund is showing a $3.8 million deficit. Just as a reminder, the changes to the health plan took effect this past January. At the end of January, the district's investment portfolio had a total balance of $229.3 million, with just under $1 million in interest income earned that month. For comparison, last January 2024, the portfolio was $258.5 million, with about $1 million in interest, or very similar. All our investments meet the requirements of the Public Funds Investment Act. That concludes the financial update through January 2025. We'll continue to provide monthly updates during board meetings and offer quarterly presentations to keep our board, staff, and community informed of the district's financial position throughout the year. With that, I'll open up to any questions you might have.
Any questions?
For providing this.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Solis.
You're welcome.
We have item 6C, District Intruder Detection Audit Report. Mr. Livermore?
Vice President Nahida, board members, Superintendent Vasquez, Ron Livermore, Director of Emergency Management. An intruder detection audit have been conducted in the district by Education Service Center Region 19. Findings will be shared with the district's School Safety Security Committee and the Board of Trustees. We have action plans and trainings in place, and we will be sharing those with the Board of Trustees tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6D, Facilities Report, Security Fencing. Ms. Fierro?
Good evening, Board, Vice President Nájera, members of the board, Superintendent Mr. Vasquez. I'm Liliana Fierro, I'm the Director of Facilities and Construction. I'm presenting an update on the security fencing construction project, which is part of the School Safety and Security TA grant, working in collaboration with Emergency Management, Maintenance, and IT departments. Package 1, this includes the Americas and East Lake feeder patterns. The percentage per campus has changed from the date this report was submitted to now. This package is currently at 60%. And here's some progress photos from Horizon Heights Elementary School, Answer Middle School, Sushuk East Lake Elementary School, East Lake Middle School, Ben Arbuthnot Elementary School, Mission Ridge Elementary School, and East Lake High School. Package 2, this includes El Dorado and Monwood feeder patterns. Percentages per campus have changed from the date this report was submitted to now. This package is currently at 50% of completion. Here are some photos from Helen Ball Elementary School, El Dorado High School, Slider Middle School, Chester Jordan Elementary School, and Purple Heart Elementary School. Package 3, this includes Pebble Hills and Socorro High School feeder patterns. The notice to proceed for contractor is scheduled for Monday, March 31st. Is there any questions?
Any questions? No. Ms. Fierro, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Item 7, Consent Agenda. Are there any items to be pulled?
Yes, I have a couple of items. Item 7B.
B as in boy.
B as in boy. Item 7F3. A. Item 7 H 1 and 2, item 7J, and then item, oh no, that's it.
That's it. Any others? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve, except for the items that I put.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Macias and a second by Ms. Gardea to approve all items under consent agenda with the noted exceptions. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. So 7B, consider approval of request for the use of school facilities, Ms. Macias.
Yes, for item 7B, just curious, when the last time we, again, looking at possible revenue sources, or at least a break even, when the last time we looked at the fees that we're charging for the use of facilities?
We're currently reviewing that now, since, especially since SAC 2 has been opened. We've met several times with athletics and fine arts departments just to see what would be fair rates. And I know that the new facility at SAC 2 is such a nice conference facility, and we anticipate there'll be lots of use out of it. I think we're going to have one of our proms is going to be there, America's High School, if I'm not mistaken. So we're reviewing those, and we're looking at possible adjustments just in light of, inflation costs for, the cleanup and so forth. So we're making those adjustments now.
Thank you. I didn't know how to ask that without pulling it. Motion
Okay.
to approve.
All right, thanks.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Macias and a second by Ms. Gardea to approve item 7B. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. Next item will be F3A. Ms. Macias?
Yes, with this contractor, actually, it's a redistribution of funds going to El Paso and Isleta, and I think to us also. I guess my question is, because I know Mr. Solis mentioned that, hello, how are you doing? That possibly adult education was something that might be impacted. Have you all heard anything? Is this grant still good for the next 5 years, or is this something that?
Yeah, if you want to go and start.
Just, as far as we know right now, in speaking and being in very close contact, we have biweekly meetings, and they update us on it. Right now, they are waiting. They don't know.
Okay.
However, our contract is for the 2 years with 3 probable years to follow.
Okay, so right now, we're just moving forward.
We're moving forward, just as normal.
Okay, I just wanted that for clarity since it was mentioned a little bit earlier. That way there wasn't that consternation that we weren't gonna move forward with our adult education. Right now, we have the grant, we're moving forward, and we're redistributing money to the 3 entities at this point.
Yes, absolutely. 2 of the counties did not participate, 2 of the 7, so we had to reallocate their funds.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Motion
you.
to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve by Ms. Macias, a second by Mr. Guerra. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. And next item is item H1, policy CAA. Ms. Macias?
Yes, on page 2 of 4, and it was mentioned earlier, and that was something that I had documented when I was reviewing this, is that under reports, it says any person who suspects fraud or financial impropriety in the district shall report the suspicious immediately to a person with authority to investigate the suspicions, including any supervisor, the superintendent, the board president, or local law enforcement. Just recommendation, we do have an internal audit, and I know that that is one of their main functions. I don't know if that's something that we need to add, just the word in our internal audit system, because I know we have the waste, fraud, and abuse hotline, so that our policy reflects our practices.
Yeah, we can pull that. That makes sense.
Thank you. That was just my feedback.
Yeah, we can relook at that.
Okay, so we're gonna pull the item, or are we gonna add the language?
Well, we can pull it so we can add the language and then bring it back.
Bring it back next month? Okay. Item H2, policy CDA, Ms. Macias?
Yes, let me find my note. Oh, and this is just really just silly. On page 2 of 4, I know it has something that is stricken out, and then the same language is added. So it was just something just simple to, that the information is there. No
Which page is
strikeout,
that?
no add, it's just
Okay.
what it is.
That is odd.
Yeah, and I know it's an update 124, so
Yeah.
job security for somebody. Taking that from Ms. Nahida. Thank you. That's motion to approve.
Thank you.
I have a motion by Ms. Macias, a second by Ms. Gardea. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. And item J, Ms. Macias? No, because they pulled it. Not when administration. Mr. Blanco? Administration is pulling item H1, the policy, to make changes. Do I need a motion on that with them pulling it? Okay, thank you. Yes, item J?
Yes. Just a quick question for clarity. Community education clerk, I know that is being paid out of grant as far as the funding source, but just the question of the 302 to the 303, do we have other clerks within our system that this one was not paid at the same level? Just that just came to mind. Why a 302 to a 303?
So good evening, Vice President Nájera, members of the board, and interim Superintendent Mr. Vasquez. I'm Lynette Vidales, Director of Human Resources. So this was updated because it had been outdated. There were clerical skills that initially were reported, and that it needs something a little bit more besides clerical skills. So the pay was upped a little bit. It is paid out of a grant. So it was because of the change in the
duties?
requirements, yes.
Okay, and I did see that the term of employment went from a 239 to 226, so I see that it balances. So thank you for the clarity.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Ms. Macias and a second by Ms. Gardea. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. Item 8, new business 8A, consider approval of resolution stating review of investment policy. Mr. Solis, you're back.
I'm back. Good evening again. David Solis, Chief Financial Officer for the district. So policy CDA requires that the board review the district's investment policies and strategies at least annually. This review must be documented through a formal resolution, including any changes made. At this point, administration is requesting approval of the resolution as presented to confirm the board's review and ensure compliance with legal requirements of the policy.
Motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Guerra and a second by Ms. Gardea. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. Item 8B, consider approval of resolution approving independent sources for investment training and designation of investment officers. Mr. Solis.
Sure. Now that the board has approved the investment policy review, the board must designate the investment officers responsible for managing the district's investments in accordance with adopted policy. State law also requires that the chief financial officer or treasurer, along with designated investment officers, complete at least 8 hours of investment training every 2 years. This training must cover key topics such as investment control, risk management, diversification, and compliance with the Public Funds Investments Act, and must be provided by an independent source approved by the board or designated committee. Administration is requesting approval of the resolution as presented to confirm the board's designation of investment officers and the list of approved independent training providers.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Guerra and a second by Ms. Macias. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. 8C, consider approval of resolution listing current brokers and investment pools. Mr. Solis.
Okay, this is the last step, and it's the annual review, revision, and adoption of the list of qualified brokers authorized to conduct investment transactions with the district. Administration is requesting approval of the resolution as presented to confirm the board's review and adoption of the current list of authorized brokers.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Macias and a second by Ms. Gardea. Is there any further discussion?
Yes. Mr. Solis, the only question I had was, I noticed it's general funds to bond funds, but this project wasn't on our regular bond.
So this will be this one is just for the motion, I believe, at the table is to approve the brokers.
C.
And then the next one I think you're referencing is the next item on the agenda.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. Item 8D, consider approval of reclassification of purchase order. We do have a public speaker. Mr. Solis?
Here. So administration is requesting approval to reclassify purchase order 9402-500255 issued to Vibrant World Sports Ltd. in the amount of $733,855 from general funds to bond funds for the refurbishment of Socorro High School track. The bond fund currently has sufficient capacity and available balances to absorb this cost. Furthermore, the track refurbishment aligns with the broader reconstruction efforts at Socorro High School, which were approved as part of the bond initiative. Reclassifying this expenditure will help preserve general fund resources, thereby strengthening the overall financial position of the fund in light of our current budgetary outlook. Administration is requesting the approval to reclassify that purchase order from general funds to bond funds.
Can I have a question?
You can ask a question, yes, sir.
Mr. Solis, my question was, I know this, we're moving it from bond funds to general funds. I'm sorry, the opposite way, but this wasn't a bond project.
It wasn't, but since we do have the capacity and we've completed the bond projects, and speaking with bond counsel, this refurbishment of Socorro High School track would be allowable under the current, to be paid out of the bond funds. So right now, we currently have, I believe, a little over $2 million in capacity. This project, at the time, my understanding was it was designated under the general fund because there may not have been any capacity under the bond. But now that there is capacity, we're requesting the reclassification of this to the bond funds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
So just for clarity, it's not that the track got resurfaced during the time that Socorro was built or rebuilt and it's out of, or tell me why, was it just never touched?
So I believe there was a need to refurbish the Socorro High School track, but it wasn't within the bond capacity at the time. So funding was allocated from the general fund to complete that. But now that all the projects have been completed and we're not going to move forward with the maintenance building, there is capacity of about a little over $2 million. And so we're recommending that part of that capacity be used to complete this project. This PO was just issued this year.
Yeah, it was in pretty poor condition, but it just wasn't included as part of the bond.
Was not. So it's not that it was faulty or there's.
Yeah, no, it was never part of the.
It just was never touched.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Mr. Crandall?
All right, here's my question. $733,855. Wow. My son's not gonna have an art teacher or music teacher for $2 million, but yet here we are saying, hey, can we go ahead and reallocate this money? When you hear the word reallocate, that means there's money, extra money. All these teachers are probably watching on YouTube, go, wait a minute, why can't you reallocate that for us? No offense, but I know there's some people here who love Socorro High School. They do the whole, oh, below the freeway schools don't ever get any attention. But do we recall how much over budget that school came in? A lot of money. I'm definitely gonna stand up and say no. We cannot be allocating money for a track and field when we just spent millions of dollars for SAC 2. They have a pretty nice track there, don't they, Mr. Guerra? They do. So I am standing up not just for people here, but for those teachers, those 300 teachers who might be losing their jobs, for the elementary school art teachers, music teachers. I am standing up for them. How dare we reallocate $733,000 for one school, yet we can't allocate that $733,000 that will benefit all the schools and all the employees. Please reconsider. We have to take a look at our priorities. Are we going to do one track for one school, or are we going to save 300 jobs, and are we going to save fine arts program? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Macias?
So a quick question, teach me. Can we use bond funds for keeping, let's say, 2 or 3 or whatever teachers? Tell me how we could use this. Why is it that we're using it for a track?
Sure. So bond funds cannot be used for personnel cost. Those bond funds were approved for improving our district facilities. That's typically what bond funds are used for. There is a very limited amount of things that we could use the bonds for. One would be the purchase of school buses along with the improvement of facilities. We could not use bond funds to provide for employee salaries such as teaching. So for that reason, we're saying in order to assist with our financial position, because right now this funding is coming out of our general fund. So that's coming out of the maintenance and operation tax, which is what we use to operate the day-to-day. We're moving this over to the INS piece, so to speak. So it's coming out of a different funding source. So we're trying to alleviate the general fund and use the capacity that we have currently in the bond fund, because we couldn't use it for any other purpose other than what was kind of outlined when the voters approved the bond, and most of that had to do with the improvements of facilities.
The bond funds are very specific, and it's going to help us use money that we would have used from our general fund, move it there, and that way we have more money in our general fund as we need it for our
Correct.
rainy day.
Yeah, it's actually helpful because we're moving monies that were going to be used for teacher salaries and so forth. Now we're moving it to bond funds to pay for facilities. So it actually frees up money to pay for salaries.
Does have that intent. And then clarity, SAC 2, does it have a track?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And then at the high school, do they also help facilitate track meets for middle school and our littles?
They do.
So it would help the entire feeder pattern or district, because depending on, okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Any other questions? No. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Macias and a second by Ms. Gardea. Is there any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Solis. And item 8E, consider approval of request for a new position for bilingual facilitator. Ms. Stiles.
They hid it from me, sorry. Good evening, Vice President Nájera, members of the board, Superintendent Mr. Vasquez. This evening, I'm coming forward with a new position request. It is for a bilingual facilitator, but prior to getting to the request, I do want to share some information with you. So local entities that apply for bilingual waivers and bilingual exceptions do have to meet a requirement to offer professional development. And part of the funding that's allocated for those funds, we have to utilize 10% of that for that. And so the allowable usage for that percentage is to pay for a salary that will be providing that professional development. So the bilingual facilitator will be the individual that will be providing that professional development. We do have many employees that are on waivers, especially in our special education department, because it is a requirement. So the request for the position is for a bilingual facilitator. Are there any questions?
Will the bilingual facilitator, the training, since you said that a lot of the teachers are in special ed, will they be focusing on how to serve children in special ed that are nonverbal? I'm just wondering the effectiveness of a bilingual facilitator for our special ed students who kids are not only not verbal, let alone bilingual.
So the bilingual facilitator is to support the bilingual certification that's required only.
Okay.
So they will provide the certification, the PD, to help them pass the bilingual test, that and the ESL test. That's the purpose of the facilitator, the PD that has to be offered, since we are on bilingual waivers.
So unfortunately, it's not really something that they'll be able to take back in and utilize with their kids.
They can take it back in depending on what they're providing. If they're required to have a bilingual certification, it's because the students that they're providing those services to are coded as bilingual. So they have to be able to provide those services for those students.
Hi, good evening, Vice President Ms. Nahera, members of the board, and Interim Superintendent Mr. Vasquez. I'm Ms. Añano, and I'm the Director of Bilingual Education and ESL Dual Language. And to go back and answer your question, so we do put together a comprehensive plan because we did apply for the bilingual exception and ESL waiver. So we do have a comprehensive plan that offers a certain amount of trainings for those teachers that are not fully certified, and they consist of instructional practices for our bilingual students to include our dual-coded students as well, but we also provide them with supplemental training so that they can familiarize themselves with those competencies that are going to be tested so that we can prepare them for the test. So it is to prepare them for the test and so that they're able to take those best practices so that they can provide those services to our emerging bilingual students.
So it's mainly for the teachers to be able to pass the test. It's not so much.
It's to provide them with the competencies to pass the test, but we also provide staff development on best practices.
Okay.
So that they can take it back to the classroom.
Okay. So best practices meaning that
Instructional.
it'll be instructionally appropriate for whatever it is that they teach. If they teach in a PAS or a SLU, they'll be able to implement some of those strategies with their kids?
Yes, so that they can help them with the language acquisition support.
Okay.
Yes, a couple of questions.
Ms. Casillas.
Hello, funding source.
Yes, ma'am.
How are we paying for this?
So this is coming out of state allotment funds. And right now, TA does state that we do have to meet the 10% threshold. And unfortunately, right now, we are not meeting it because we don't have the adequate amount of facilitators to support the staff.
And then currently, who is fulfilling these duties?
So right now, I do have 4 facilitators for the district. I did lose a facilitator early in December. She retired. And that's why we're short a facilitator right now, so that we can meet that threshold.
And then if this is filled, will it be with internal only? That way, you know where I'm going. If
Yes.
there's somebody that possibly might, they have the opportunity to apply, and hopefully we fill it from within?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Are there any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
I second.
I have a motion by Ms. Gardea and a second by Ms. Macias. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Stiles.
Thank you.
Item 9A, executive session. The meeting is to be closed for discussion with legal counsel regarding DFFB process for the notification of affecting employees, to receive intruder detection audit report findings for Benito Martinez Elementary School, Ernesto Serna School, and Missionary College High School. Discussion regarding potential sale of real property and options for the sale of the following locations. 1, 14,400 GR Campuzano Drive. 2, 14,900 Tierra Madre Avenue. And to consider administrative recommendations for Chief Human Resources Officer under Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.076. The date is March 26, 2025, and the time is 8:03.
Socorro Independent School District has more than 48,000 students in 51 campuses, but we're not just a number. Here, we're cared for, we're loved, we belong. Timas ISD is a true Texas public school district that gives us unforgettable memories, traditions, experiences, and the opportunities we need to have a bright, successful future. Want to be a health professional? Once a bulldog, always a bulldog. Want to design skyscrapers? There's an empire for that. Have you heard the early bird gets the worm? Well, that's why they fear the falcons. We don't just rise. This is Sparta. We earn our horns and trailblaze and overcome to be the first and the best. I know. It sounds extra, but it's just our flex. For over 60 years, Socorro ISD has set its sights on our future with vision, innovation, investing, building, and planning to prepare us for the real world. These are our opportunities, and we will seize them.
Socorro ISD registration opens March 3rd for kinder through 12th grade. Enroll in a district known for exceptional academics, award-winning fine arts and athletic programs, and cutting-edge facilities. Our groundbreaking academies and career programs provide excellent learning opportunities. Out-of-district transfer applications are now open. Don't wait. Secure your child's spot today and seize your opportunity in Timas ISD.
Socorro ISD offers 45 different pathways in CTE. We have added PTECs, Pathways in Technology Early College High Schools. We have 7 advanced academies, and we also, throughout the district, offer 7 early college high school opportunities for our students. So there's a lot of choices students have to make while in 8th grade so that they have a pleasant experience while in high school.
My favorite part of HPA is the fact that we get opportunities to go outside of school and go into hospitals, so we can actually get that hands-on and actually view what is actually happening in the hospitals and clinicals. Since I'm interested in being an RN, I got to talk to actual RNs about their experience, where they're from. We went to UMC, we went to Providence. I also got to do middle schools and elementaries. It really helps you build that understanding of how everybody's different, and you have to understand and care to their needs.
Because it is really a dream that if I was a kid, I would have never believed that I was doing all this stuff that I was doing in the program. They make me feel like family. There's a sense that I don't get in any other setting. When I'm at school, I don't feel like I'm at school. I feel like I'm doing something that I want to, and the day goes by quick, super quick. And it just gives that sense of well-being and family, and it really is a dream, because I would have never thought I would be in the position that I'm in.
The students can select up to 3 different programs or academies that they would like to attend. And through the lottery process, they're placed in those different academies or early college high schools that they choose. We've had over 80% first selection offered for our students.
The Libertas Academy is a law and government program where students can learn how to be lawmakers, law officials, learn about the government, how it was brought up, and basically prepare us for the future in some sort of government professional field. My parents and I, we actually thought it was a really amazing opportunity, even as a high school student starting your freshman year, that you get to start learning about these career fields and that you get to really experience it firsthand and you get to learn about these careers that you want to go into and get a step ahead of everybody else. It was just, we had to take it. It was an amazing opportunity.
The Academy provides a really unique experience because it offers students the rigor of not only college, but also like kind of a taste of law school, which is really unique. It's something that we really don't have anywhere nearby. So I think that it's really, really cool that it provides that educational opportunity, but also it provides that community. A lot of people think that we're just all business, that we don't have fun, but we really have become like a family. I really have found some amazing friends, amazing professors.
It's taken a huge investment, not only in equipment, facilities, but also in maintaining our teachers' credentials, getting them training, keeping them up to date with current standards. Socorro has always been known as a progressive district. By what we offer our kids supersedes most other school districts across the state. And I have great confidence that we'll continue to progress with what's leaving our schools.
So our dual language program consists of 2 different types of models. We have the 90-10, which is for pre-K students, and this is where the students are in a classroom with 1 teacher. Depending on their first language, they're gonna get 90% of the instruction in English, 10% in Spanish, or vice versa, 90% in Spanish, 10% in English. And then we have our 50-50 model, and starts from kinder all the way to 5th grade, and this is where the students have 2 teachers where they're learning both languages, English and Spanish, 50 and 50% of the time, depending on the taught subject and language.
The dual language program is so much more than just learning to speak in another language. They learn how to read, how to write, and they learn about the other culture and how to appreciate it, and they become very successful.
In order for the students to become bilingual and biliterate, they need to make sure that they are consistent with the program at least 5 years. Once the student completes 5 full years in the dual language program, then they can qualify for a Spanish high school credit that they take with them when they're in middle school.
I think it's important to learn English and Spanish so people can feel happy that you can communicate them in Spanish or English. So when I'm older, and they ask me questions in Spanish, I can answer them in Spanish and English.
We are growing our students in a very competitive global society where dualism is extremely important in any type of business that you go into, not just into education. The students, we're preparing them to be global, competitive citizens of society, and having that dualism in their pocket is really going to open doors for them.
El conocimiento que adquieren se refleja no nada más académicamente, sino también culturalmente, socialmente. Ellos aprenden de culturas diferentes, aprenden a convivir con personas que son diferentes a ellos, y luego yo pienso que eso también los ayuda a sentirse aceptados, aceptar a otros, y es un programa bien bonito, a mí me encanta.
Pues yo me siento feliz porque son los lenguajes. Van a tener dos maestras, van a aprender 2 lenguajes y van a tener muchos amigos que hablan español e inglés.
I can say that SISD is truly the district that offers many opportunities for our students, and I vouch that dual language is not just opening doors for our students to become bilingual and biliterate, but it's opening doors for their future.
Socorro ISD makes learning innovative. We fly drones, we take center stage, we take care of the environment, and we learn to take care of our health and become lifelong learners. Our new elementary academies offer unique programs to inspire, challenge, and prepare us for success. Register now at SISD.net and seize your opportunity in Team SISD.
The Socorro Independent School District is committed to helping all students find their voice and achieve their highest potential. We understand the important role that families play in our children's education, and we welcome you, our military-connected families, to Team SISD. With 46 schools designated Purple Star campuses by the Texas Education Agency, the most of any school district in the El Paso region, Team SISD is committed to supporting the unique needs of military-connected students and their families through a variety of resources and services. These include a comprehensive website for military families, a campus transition program, multiple special events, military family life counselors, and a military liaison at each of our 51 campuses who all reach out and serve our military-connected families. Team SISD stays in close contact with our Fort Bliss counterparts to access and share information, ideas, and trainings to provide the best education for our 6,500 plus military-connected students. To assist with the social and emotional needs of our students, we maximize support services by engaging with our school counselors, including our military and family life counselor, and local agencies such as NAMI, the YWCA, Child Guidance Center, local daycare providers, and the Paso del Norte and Meadows Family Leadership Council. We value and greatly appreciate the sacrifice our military parents make for our country, our community, and our children. We salute you, and we are delighted to have the opportunity to serve you and your family in our district. Thank you for being part of our district and helping us ensure that Team SISD is the right choice for endless opportunities. Hello and welcome to SISD TV News, where we deliver the latest news about the Socorro Independent School District. In our top story, earlier this fall semester, student councils from across the El Paso region gathered for their annual Fall District 9 conference at Socorro High School with the theme Lead with Light. The purpose of District 9 is to develop leadership abilities in students and advisors, promote democracy as a way of life, and establish and uphold high standards for local school councils.
Being able to host it as a Socorro high school is an amazing accomplishment, not just for our school and our district, but for El Paso in general. It gets our name out to the TSAC. It's just so fun to have. Then we have a fall and spring one, and it gets us ready for our winter retreat that we go in December.
One of the fun things they really enjoy is roll call, which is just having their names called out, and they usually do some kind of chant. They practice it, they get really into it. There's also a component of name tags. We have a contest where we take the theme for the year.
Today really brought a lot more excitement to student council and kind of people to have somewhere where they can connect with a lot, especially with our speaker, Ricky Ramirez. I feel like he had like a lot of touch to like whatever he was speaking, and everything I felt like almost like he had a lot of heart with it. A lot of excitement was brought in with different sort of activities and things like that. But really, I felt really excited to be able to be there and be able to lead everybody with kind of like my own way of leading, and being able to see other people excited to finally be here, be supportive of everybody else. And I just feel like it really makes such community with everyone.
Eastlake High School administrators and staff held a special ceremony to celebrate head girls basketball coach Marley Webb, who achieved a major milestone with her 500th career win. Coach Webb reached this achievement when the Falcons defeated Mountain View High School in the title game of the Horizon Basketball Tournament.
It's awesome. I mean, it's a milestone that I don't think you ever think you're going to get to when you start coaching, but it's really fun when you finally achieve it. And I've been very blessed, and it's been a fun moment. The impact that they have had on me has been tremendous. I don't have kids myself, so they are my children, and I don't get to talk to them all every single day or all every year, but you know, I can give you the memories, I can give you the thing, and it's meant the world to me, you know. It creeps up for sure, and I think once it got to 400 wins, I'm like, hey, I might be able to get to 500, and I was blessed to do that.
It's a big accomplishment, and we know we could go for more. Congrats, Coach.
Eastlake High School volleyball students signed their letters of intent to play at the collegiate level.
I'm excited, starting a new journey of my life, signing to a wonderful school and a wonderful program, and I'm just excited to see all my friends and take lots of pictures.
It was a pretty hard journey. I felt like I started late, especially in the recruitment process, but honestly, everything just turned out so perfectly. Just like being able to stand here, it was kind of just a hard moment for me to honestly realize I was able to do this like whole thing and just make my own dreams come true.
Well, I'm so excited for this new journey. I'm so excited to sign, knowing that this was a goal I've been working towards, and I'm finally here reaching it, so I'm really excited.
Socorro ISD hosted its middle school science fair at Socorro High School. More than 400 students presented their projects in various categories, including physical science, life science, and engineering.
Science is very important. It's part of our everyday lives, right? But it doesn't only show them what science does or how science relates to their life. It teaches them important skills, organizational skills. They go through the scientific process, which is a process that could be used throughout life, all around in any area of life.
My parents let me come and do this stuff from school. They let me be in band, they let me do science fair. They took their time off today to bring me here. Like, I'm just really grateful. My teacher helped me, everyone helped me. It's just so really nice.
It's really awesome to be here because it kind of shows that all the work I put in really let me advance the district, and the amount of trials that I took to create this project.
It's fun. It's a fun way to go against other schools and other teams and other people.
6 Montwood High School students signed their letters of intent to play at the collegiate level. Brooke Gill and Mia Tellez are both softball players who will be playing at Frank Phillips College in Borger, Texas.
I'm feeling pretty excited. I'm feeling nervous. You know, this is a big next chapter into my life. So I'm just hoping I'm successful at what I do and everything, and I'm just gonna put my trust in God.
Jacob Gomez is a baseball player and will be playing at Arkansas Tech University in Russellville, Arkansas. Isaley Salazar is a softball player that will be playing at Western New Mexico University in Silver City, New Mexico. Simone Pompa, a volleyball player, will take her game to the next level at Vernon College in Vernon, Texas. Trinity Munoz is a softball player that will play at the University of California at Riverside in Riverside, California.
It was definitely all worth it. I worked really hard to get to where I am today. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So I'm very thankful in God that I could be here today signing.
Socorro ISD celebrated early college high school students for their achievement of earning an associate degree while still in high school. Each early college program honored their fall 2024 college graduates by awarding them stoles signifying their achievement.
Well, I want to be a teacher. I've always seen I grew up with my family in education, so that was always really a big step for me, seeing how awesome they were to help inspire students.
When I actually first got into it, I wasn't so sure that it was what I wanted to do, but being in this program allowed me to actually explore all the careers in there and actually, I guess, dip my toes into what law is. And I love it. I'm so grateful for this program. I'm so grateful for this district to actually allow me to achieve these goals. And I really hope that they apply to me in my future life. And yeah, I'm just forever grateful.
It feels amazing. It feels truly, I'm truly blessed and truly graced with this opportunity. Being able to graduate early is something I actually didn't think I could do when I first joined the program until later on. And then I realized that if I wanted to do this and I wanted to graduate early, I needed to put in the work, put in the effort. So that's what I did.
I know that I saved myself a lot of money because I did see my dad struggle when in my younger years. It took a long time for him to finish his associates, and I know that taking this opportunity will help me financially in future years. And not to mention, I could do a lot of careers with this associate degree and the other degrees I will obtain.
That's our show for today. I hope you've enjoyed learning about the latest in the Socorro Independent School District. Make sure to follow us on X with the handle @Socorro ISD. Also be sure to friend us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Team SISD, and visit our website. Thank you again, and see you next time.
Distrito de Socorro, aprender es innovador. Volamos drones, tomamos el centro de escenario, cuidamos nuestro medio ambiente y aprendemos a cuidar nuestra salud para ser mejores aprendices de por vida. Las academias de primaria de SISD ofrecen programas únicos para inspirarnos, desafiarnos y prepararnos para el éxito. Regístrate ahora y aprovecha tu oportunidad en el equipo SISD.
Hello, and welcome to SISD TV News, where we deliver the latest news about the Socorro Independent School District. In our top story, the Pebble Hills Feeder Librarians hosted a Literacy Lunada night at Pebble Hills High School. The event featured student performances, book giveaways, night sky activities, and much more.
It's a chance to showcase our libraries and what we do. This is a part of our community outreach to bring our community in and showcase all the things that we have to offer.
I hope to see more activities like this, you know, especially at the high school level, because he gets really excited when, you know, he gets to come to the big kids school. So I appreciate that.
SISD first and second grade gifted and talented students enjoyed a day of fun and educational activities at the Technology Services Center. Students visited different stations where they learned about the physics of flight and used arts and crafts to build bottle rockets, paper airplanes, and parasails.
I think it just gives them that chance to come and be with kids who are like-minded,
who also are a little quirky, a little bit out of the box thinkers in their classroom. They may be a singleton or there may be a couple of them, but this is 40 of their closest GT friends who are able to think that way together, and they build on each other, and they get to really just have a day of brain freedom.
We get to do a bunch of fun stuff, and I get to do stuff with my friends.
Vista del Sol Environmental Academy hosted a turkey trot for students. The event allowed students and families to walk or run through the course together.
It's important just because the kids get to see their parents exercising and they see that it's a fun thing. It's a lifetime skill that they can have, not just with their family now, but families in the future that they have. So it's just good to get everybody out and active, especially in the cold season.
I think it's great. I think it should not just be you know, once a year kind of thing. It should be at least once a month that they give us the opportunity, or different, maybe different time frames, you know, for different parents, different jobs or whatnot. But I think it's a great thing that the district is doing.
America's High School introduced Roberto Garcia as their new head wrestling coach.
I'm feeling very excited. Just having the whole community, the whole student body out here supporting me in this new adventure that I got. I'm super proud of being in such a great school with such great students, and I'm just excited to see what we can do together.
Team SIZ hosted a military family night mixer at El Dorado High School, where attendees got to meet campus administrators, see various performances by students, and meet other service members. Attendees were also able to meet with support services and school military liaisons at booths to gain valuable information and build connections.
The connection it continues to grow in the SISD and Fort Bliss community. Fort Bliss is one of the largest training installations in the country on the CONUS in the continental United States. So building that bond, we have 268 military-connected families on El Dorado campus by itself. Some of our other campuses have more. However, we continue to build that bond with our military-connected family by providing programs that are accessible to our military-connected kids.
I think it's really nice. I think the district does a really good job interacting with the parents, the community, and it's not only the service member. The family does a great deal of sacrifice. Most of the times it's the mothers, but nowadays fathers too, and children. They do a lot of sacrifices for the military, and it's nice to be recognized.
Socorro ISD honored veterans with ceremonies across the district for Veterans Day. Students, teachers, staff, and the community all united to honor the men and women who served our country.
Veterans do so much for us. They fight for our country. For the rights that we have and the privileges that we have come from our veterans. It is a privilege and an honor to be in school, to actually have an education. When they know the meaning behind Veterans Day and they own it, it makes it very special. We have veteran families, so their service, all of that is very important to us. And so we thank our veterans for all they do.
We start at the pre-K level with making sure and having everyone know the importance of the services provided to our country, the dedication, the time spent for our families. You know, it is a devotion, it is you know, their time, but also the impact that it plays on the families that are left behind as their service members are gone. We have a united group of parents that come together here at our school and in our district to provide support for the entire family.
I didn't serve to get any recognition. I didn't serve thinking of what my kids might want in the future, and it feels very beautiful to know that they're proud.
That's our show for today. I hope you've enjoyed learning about the latest in the Socorro Independent School District. Make sure to follow us on X with the handle @Socorro ISD. Also be sure to friend us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Team SISD, and visit our website,
Thank you again, and see you next time. Padres del Paso, estudiantes nuevos y actuales ya se pueden inscribir en el distrito de Socorro para prekinder a último año. El equipo SISD ofrece un aprendizaje práctico e innovador donde sus pequeños estudiantes crezcan en su trayectoria académica. Únase a nuestras academias académicas de primer nivel, programas deportivos, bellas artes y educación profesional y técnica. Regístrese en línea y aprovecha tu oportunidad en el equipo SISD. This past year has tested us in ways we've never imagined. From navigating uncertainty to overcoming challenges, each of us has played a crucial role in keeping our community strong and resilient. Through it all, one thing has remained clear: our commitment to our students' success. As we reflect on the challenges we faced, we recognize the strength of our unity and the power of being all in. Being all in means more than just showing up. It means giving our best every day, supporting each other, and fostering an environment where every student can thrive. It's about going the extra mile, finding solutions together, and lifting each other up during difficult times. Those who are all in inspire others. They show us what's possible when we refuse to settle for mediocrity. They remind us that greatness lies not in the outcome, but in the journey. The journey of pushing boundaries, overcoming setbacks, and becoming stronger with every step. So as we face the new school year, remember this: life rewards those who are willing to give it their all. Whether you're pursuing a dream, facing a challenge, or simply striving to be the best, choose to be all in. Because when you are all in, you're a champion for all of us. Students, employees, parents, and families. We are all in for Team SISD.
Independent School District has more than 48,000 students and 51 campuses, but we're not just a number. Here, we're cared for, we're loved, we belong. Temis ISD is a true Texas public school district that gives us unforgettable memories, traditions, experiences, and the opportunities we need to have a bright, successful future. Want to be a health professional? Once a bulldog, always a bulldog. Want to design skyscrapers? There's an empire for that. Have you heard the early bird gets the worm? Well, that's why they fear the falcons. We don't just rise. This is Sparta. We earn our horns and trailblaze and overcome to be the first and the best. I know. It sounds extra, but it's just our flex. For over 60 years, Socorro ISD has set its sights on our future with vision, innovation, investing, building, and planning to prepare us for the real world. These are our opportunities, and we will seize them.
Socorro ISD registration opens March 3rd for kinder through 12th grade. Enroll in a district known for exceptional academics, award-winning fine arts and athletic programs, and cutting-edge facilities. Our groundbreaking academies and career programs provide excellent learning opportunities. Out-of-district transfer applications are now open. Don't wait. Secure your child's spot today and seize your opportunity in Temis ISD.
Socorro ISD offers 45 different pathways in CTE. We have added PTECs, Pathways in Technology Early College High Schools. We have 7 advanced academies, and we also throughout the district offer 7 early college high school opportunities for our students. So a lot of choices students have to make while in 8th grade so that they have a pleasant experience while in high school.
My favorite part of HPA is the fact that we get opportunities to go outside of school and go into hospitals, so we can actually get that hands-on and actually view what is actually happening in the hospitals and clinicals. Since I'm interested in being an RN, I got to talk to actual RNs about their experience, where they're from. We went to UMC, we went to Providence. I also got to do middle schools and elementaries. It really helps you build that understanding of how everybody's different, and you have to understand and care to their needs.
Because it is really a dream that if I was a kid, I would have never believed that I was doing all this stuff that I was doing in the program. They make me feel like family. There's a sense that I don't get in any other setting. When I'm at school, I don't feel like I'm at school. I feel like I'm doing something that I want to, and the day goes by quick, super quick. And it just gives that sense of well-being and family, and it really is a dream because I would have never thought I would be in the position that I'm in.
The students can select up to 3 different programs or academies that they would like to attend, and through the lottery process, they're placed in those different academies or early college high schools that they choose. We've had over 80% first selection offered for our students.
The Libertas Academy is a law and government program where students can learn how to be lawmakers, law officials, learn about the government, how it was brought up, and basically prepare us for the future in some sort of government professional field. My parents and I, we actually thought it was a really amazing opportunity, even as a high school student starting your freshman year, that you get to start learning about these career fields and that you get to really experience it firsthand, and you get to learn about these careers that you want to go into and get a step ahead of everybody else. It was just, we had to take it. It was an amazing opportunity.
The Academy provides a really unique experience because it offers students the rigor of not only college, but also kind of a taste of law school, which is really unique. It's something that we really don't have anywhere nearby. So I think that it's really, really cool that it provides that educational opportunity, but also it provides that community. A lot of people think that we're just all business, that we don't have fun, but we really have become like a family. I really have found some amazing friends, amazing professors.
It's taken a huge investment, not only in equipment, facilities, but also in maintaining our teachers' credentials, getting them training.
Okay, we are back in session. The date is March 23rd, 26th, 2025. The time is 8:44. New business 10A, discussion and possible action regarding potential sale of real property and options for sale. Mr. Blanco.
Thank you, Vice President Nahara, members of the board, Superintendent Vasquez. We had a discussion about the potential for the sale of the two pieces of property identified in the item. 14400 GR Campuzano Drive, which is a vacant lot next to the Purple Heart Elementary School. And then the second lot is 14900 Tierra Mirage Avenue, which is a vacant lot next to Sergeant Jose F. Carrasco Elementary School. Neither one of these locations are currently being used or have a planned use by the district for school facilities or for school sites. It's the recommendation of the administration that the board approve the start of the process to consider selling them. As we discussed, the first step is to solicit bids for them. Those will come back to you. You'll evaluate them and then make a determination if you move forward with the sale of either or both. So I'd like to take them each one at a time. Again, the administration recommends that the board approve initiation of the process for the sale of the vacant lot next to 14400 GR Campuzano Drive, which is the vacant lot adjacent to Purple Heart Elementary School.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Macias and a second by Mr. Guerra. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Blanco.
Thank you. The second one is the vacant lot at 14900 Tierra Mirage Avenue. Again, it's vacant land next to Sergeant Jose F. Carrasco Elementary School. And the administration recommends that the board approve and authorize the initiation of the bid and solicitation process for the sale of this lot as well.
Motion to approve.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. No, it's only listed as one agenda item.
There's two items.
So it goes, okay.
I want to break them out, yes.
Sorry, and so I have a motion by Ms. Gardea.
Second.
And a second by Ms. Macias. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blanco. Item 10B, consider approval of administrative recommendations. Mr. Vasquez?
Vice President Nahara, members of the board, administration recommends Selena Stiles to to assume the role and responsibilities as the new Chief Human Resources Officer.
Motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Macias and a second by Ms. Gardea. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. Congratulations, Ms. Stiles. If there's no further business for this board, we are adjourned. The time is 8:48. The date is March 26, 2025. Thank you all.